Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today I have a Hunkydory video for you, and this is for the launch of their Prism Ombre ink pads, and I'm super excited about these. I love them, they're so gorgeous. They also launched some mini stamps as well, so today's video I'm doing a card using both of those things. So before we start, I thought I'd just show you a quick little chart I made of the colours, just so you could see the different inks, because I just thought they're so gorgeous and the different shades are really lovely. And this is the little mini stamps that I'm going to use for this card, and for this one we're doing it 5 inches by 3.5 for this layer, and this is a watercolour piece of card. And first of all I'm going to be stamping the little shelf, and I'm going to be using the Prism brown ink for that. I'm going to be using all the Prism ink for the stamping, but you could, if you wanted to colour it in, you could use, of course, like your mementos if you're using your alcohol inks or anything else that, you know, whatever. If you want a watercolour, then you might want to use your dye-based inks, etc. So for this one, as I say, I'm doing it all using the Prism inks because I wanted to get that outline and just have some different shading going on, and so I just thought that would be fun. So then I'm just lined up my little pots. Now for the first one here, I started off with the brown, and then I did it sort of dark one part and pale on the other part using the Prism ink, and then I went into the reds and I flipped it around, so where it was pale I did it the darker red, and then the other side was the paler colour. And what I wanted to do was get that sort of terracotta look, so I think that turned out quite well for that. And then I used the blue, and again it just is really pretty. And then for that next one I used the purple, and I'm going to be colouring these ones in, but I thought it would be fun to actually do the outlines in the colours. So then I'm doing my little plants, and I did all 3 across at the same time because it allowed me to kind of ink them in those different shading, which was quite fun. But I knew I wanted to layer up in the middle pot, so I've created just a little mask and I cut that out, and then I've got my next little sort of, well, I guess they're all succulents, aren't they, really, cactuses and things. And so I just took the next one and I stamped him over the top of the previous one, and then I'm just lifting off my mask, and it's just created just a little extra in the middle there just to give something a little bit more interest. I thought that worked out really nicely. Then for the rest I wanted to create a background of all these little succulents, but I wanted to create it in quite a neutral tone, so I wanted the shelf to kind of pop out and then the background to kind of just sit kind of literally in the background. So I took all the different succulents and stamped them in the brown Prism ink, ombre ink, and again you can see I've done slightly different shading on that, but I just wanted to get the different effects really from the different colours, but not have anything too crazy, so that's why I went for the brown. And so I sort of stamped the tops and then I stamped the bottoms, and there you can see I used different pots as well on the bottom part compared to the one that was on the shelf. So then I took my Prism brush markers. Now these are water based, so I don't think I've shown this part with using the brush markers before, but you can obviously, because they're water-based, watercolour with them. So I just added some ink down in the areas that I wanted it to be darker, and then I took a brush with just a little water on. You don't want to go mad, you don't want to like completely flood it, and then I just pulled that colour across. So here you can see I'm doing the pot, so I'm just doing a beautiful blue, and then I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to lightly pull that ink across. And as I say, I've just got a very small amount of water on the brush. I don't want to go crazy, I don't want to over flood it. And then you'll see here I've pulled it across, but then I was like, I really don't want to put quite so much ink over that far side, so I just wiped my brush off, and then I went from the other direction, pulling almost the pale area into the dark area just to keep that pale section really delicate. And then with my little terracotta pot here, I did just fill that in with the brown, but I just felt that it was quite a nice brown as well. It was quite a terracotta sort of brown. I have to say, I think I slightly went wrong here. I don't think it really matters, but I did the shading on the opposite side. In my mind, I was doing it so that the two pots together would be dark, and I suppose that could still work, and I don't think it majorly matters, but I suppose ideally you ought to have the light coming from the same side. But I suppose at the time, as I say, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be dark because they're both kind of facing each other, creating a shadow, which would work too. But then for my little cactuses here, I did 2 shades of green. I thought that it would just add a little extra dimension to the colour, and again, just using my water on my paintbrush and just almost kind of going around in little circles there to kind of blend the 2 colours together and just create a slightly different green to what was on the pen. I just wanted it slightly more that kind of limey green, pulling into that colour a bit, so I just felt that worked really nicely. And then we're just painting really on the bits that I didn't even add the marker to, just using what's on the brush. And then here we're just using the darker marker again, and then we're going to go in with the lighter, more limey colour. So you can see on this one I used a lot less of the dark because I wanted it more of the limey colour on this particular section. I guess for this I was kind of getting lighter as I went across. That was kind of the plan. So here I'm using the limier colour, the more mid-tone, and I'm just adding that colour down, and then I'm taking my brush and I'm just blending those 2 together and also bringing it across to where there was no actual marker done, and it just is creating that nice bit of shading, a nice bit of colour going on, and a bit of depth to our little cactuses. And I just think it looks really sweet. I really like these little cactuses. When I first saw them, I was like, well, goodness, what will I do with these? But actually I had so many different ideas in the end. I didn't have enough. I had to do different things, so I didn't get to use them more than once, but I'm sure I'll use them again in the future because I think they're just so cute. So when I'd sort of finished doing this last one, I felt that it was just a little pale. It just didn't have some dimension and depth. So I actually went back in and just added a little bit of the darker colour. You'll see I left the front sort of part of the cactus there. I didn't put the dark on that. I was trying to show dimension and depth, so I just used what was on my brush and just added a small amount to that one. But mostly I just added it around the bottom and then kind of just dragged it up the actual stalks, do you call it? I don't really know what you call it on cactuses, but anyway, I just kind of dragged it up just to give a little bit of depth, but not like super darken it down. Now, what I often find when you do watercolouring is that you will need to do a couple of layers. I don't know if that's correct, but it's just how I find, particularly with markers, because I tend to find I water it down too much. So I just go lightly in with the pen. I let it then dry after I've done the first layer, and then I add another layer of the marker in the same place as I did on the first time round, and just adding that in just to add that little bit of extra depth back in, because I just find you tend to water it down a little bit, and I just think not on all of it. Like the plants, the succulents were fine. It was just on a bit of the pots I felt that it just lacked a little bit of depth and dimension. So as I say, I went back in, and the same with the shelf, I just went back in on that one as well. And then the next thing I wanted to do was just go over the background with my water paintbrush, just to blend out a little of the actual stamp background, just to soften it and just to give like a sepia effect almost to that background. Then I adhered it to some green cardstock. It was just a lovely matching paper that went with it. And then I took a piece of the craft cardstock, I cut it to 4 inches to 10 inches, and then I scored it at 5 inches to create a cute little top folding card that was 4 inches by 5 inches. So clearly not a standard size either. And don't forget, you can easily make your own envelopes with the easy peasy envelope making method that I have, or using an envelope maker. So these days it's not such a problem to actually have non-standard card sizes. So then I just literally took that piece of stamped layer and I used some finger lift tape and I stuck it on. I just really liked the craft card with the sort of sepia look of the stamping. I just felt that really worked really well with it. And as I say, then I just stuck it on the front. It was all flat layers. I wanted to keep it quite simple, and really just focus the attention on that stamped section there. And then the next thing I needed to do was put a little sentiment on. So I took this little sentiment set from Hunkydory. This was a stamp set and die set that actually go together. And so I just stamped the little get well sentiment and die cut the little tag that went with it. I then put the little tag on some foam tape and created a little bow using some baker's twine that was green and white as well, so that was kind of cute. And then I just stuck it down the bottom there, and then I stuck my bow on using this Premier glue that I've got. It's really cool. It's like construction glue, I think they call it, and I haven't had it before, and it was actually something I saw on the Hunkydory shows and thought I must order that, so I actually ordered that my own self, and it is really, really good. I really like it a lot. And then that just stuck down there, as you can see. It looks really cute, I think, with that. And then the final thing I wanted to do really was just to add a little bit of interest to the background there, and add some sequins, some green sequins, and also some of the diamond sparkles also from Hunkydory. Again, something I saw on the show and thought I really want to order those, so I ordered a few packs of those, and then I just randomly placed them, and then I adhered them using that construction glue as well, and I think it turned out really, really nicely. Now don't forget, with all of these Hunkydory launches, I have got a number of other cards that I made for the launch as well. I will put photos of those on my Instagram and also on the blog post that goes with this video. So if you want to see those, just go to the link that's below this video if you're on YouTube, and you will go across to the blog post and you will see the photos on there, or you'll get the link to my Instagram there as well. And finally, as always, I will add links to the products used so you know precisely what I've used on that blog post as well. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you again soon for another video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Bye.